Hello, friends. Welcome to day 20 of Project Peaceful Purge. Today, we're going to talk about the mindset hack of gratitude. So, this is something really interesting that if you think about it, you'll see is like true, but there's also science behind it. Our brain naturally has this negative bias. And what that means is our brain naturally looks for the negative in our environment. And the reason why our brain does this is because it's wired. God designed our brains to be aware of danger and to protect us from dangerous situations. So we naturally have a tendency to look for the negative and dangerous things. So that's why it's so easy to get discouraged and get frustrated, because we have a negative bias naturally. But we actually can rewire our brains to see things more positively by practicing how we frame things, okay? Because, those people, right, who's just I kind of call them Eeyore people. The people who it's it really kind of doesn't matter what happens. They're going to find something to complain about. So these are the people who take that negative bias to the extreme and don't even attempt to fight it, right? I know someone who they went to Disneyland, which is a really, really fun place, right? And when I asked them how their trip was, all they could tell me about was how they had by the end of the day, they had a blister on their foot. And so it stank. The trip stank because by the end of the day, they got a blister on their foot. There wasn't any of the focus on oh my gosh, I got to go on all these brand new rides that just opened, or had these amazing food, all the amazing things that you would have at Disneyland, right? Personally, I go to Disneyland, I'm yep, I pretty much always have blisters on my feet at the end of the day, but worth it. But so that would be an example of someone who kind of goes to the extreme of negativity of you could literally go to Disneyland, which is right, the happiest place on earth, just as that example, right? And the only thing you remember from the trip is the fact that you got a blister, right? So that's kind of the extreme of negative bias. And then there's the people who embrace negative bias, and then there's the people who kind of stuff the negative bias, and these are kind of the Pollyanna people but and there's a level to which Pollyanna she has a point, right, with the play the glad game. But sometimes when you play the glad game, you skip over the acknowledgement of things that are challenging, right? So, you want to kind of be in the middle. And we want to, in order to avoid overwhelm, in order to kind of step out of the overwhelm, out of anxiety, out of, those struggles, we want to shift our perspective to see things in a more positive light. Because the negative bias that our brain naturally has creates kind of a closed mindset, meaning when you operate in negativity, you tend to miss solutions that are right there in front of you. And so when we operate from a place of positivity and train our brains to look for the positive, we start being able to operate from a curiosity mindset and an open mindset of finding solutions to problems. So the one key way that we can start developing a more positive mindset and kind of train our brain to see things from a more positive light and from a more creative perspective is to intentionally find things to be grateful for each day. Doing this daily trains the brain to look for the positive rather than the negative. And this isn't this doesn't have to be you have to play the glad game like Pollyanna 24/7. Because that can feel overwhelming to go okay, how do I go from, Eeyore to Pollyanna, right? They're kind of two opposite spectrums, ends of the spectrum, right? So the way you do it is you don't try to go straight from Eeyore to Pollyanna. You just take one step into the positive from Eeyore by every day making a habit of finding 3 things to be thankful for. And you can do this in the morning. You can do it in the evening. You can do it in the afternoon. You can do one at each time of day. But just start by finding 3 things to be grateful for every day. And it can be as simple as I'm breathing. I was able to eat. Because I know that sometimes we're in situations where it's hard to even find one thing to be grateful for because everything is really, really hard. So if you're in one of those seasons where everything just is so hard and heavy, it's okay to be really simple and kind of like, about it. Like, are you breathing? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have clothes? Like those really basic things that we can even take for granted. Focusing on that first, and then eventually as you create that habit of thinking of at least 3 things that you're grateful for each day, you'll start seeing more things to be grateful for. I recommend one thing that I really like to do with this gratitude exercise is to write it down, like journal it, so that you can kind of look back too over time to see how that helps you. All right. And just see the things that you can see the evolution of gratitude. You can see it's just a really great thing to do to kind of journal those things and it's not like some big journaling exercise, like just write down 3 things I'm grateful for. So that is our mindset hack for today, is choosing to find things to be grateful for each day. And again, this doesn't mean we have to go full-blown Pollyanna, but it does mean we're going to be intentional about finding and acknowledging very specifically, either by speaking it out loud or writing it down, 3 specific things that we're grateful for each day. Our task for today is to wipe down the washer and the dryer, like dust it, and then run a cleaning cycle on your washer. Some washers have a just straight up cleaning cycle. Another thing that you can do is, I don't have it with me, but the brand is Afresh, Afresh, I think, from Amazon. And it's this little soap pod, kind of like a Tide pod, but it's a different kind of soap. And you put it in the washer when it's empty and run it, and it cleans it. And they have the same thing for your dishwasher too. So I like doing that roughly once a week. On my washer I do it maybe once a month, and my dishwasher I do it at least once a week. But anyway, run a cleaning cycle on the washer because that'll just help keep things clean. And then tidy your laundry area. Just tidy it up. Doesn't have to be gorgeous, but make sure there's nothing on the floor, sweep maybe, depending on what your laundry area looks like. And that is your task for today. I will see you all tomorrow.